With countless vehicles receiving revisions and redesigns for 2025, I think we need to have a discussion. But I want to do more than just talk about them in an abandoned subdivision. To help us do that, let's take a spin around the Chicago Auto Show. Now, obviously, this is not the environment to do full reviews, but this is going to allow us to at least get our hands on a lot of different cars. So come along for this somewhat brief journey. First up is the new Dodge Charger, something that I guess I never really thought I'd ever see. First vehicles coming out are going to be EVs. Soon we'll have internal combustion, and soon we'll also have a proper four-door. The Challenger is no more, so this is what we're gonna have. You have up to 670 horsepower if you want it. It is all-wheel drive only, and the interior is actually a nice place to be. We get a nice showcase of the Dodge seatbelt alarm. So I just took a drive with one of the Stellantis team, and I think the main takeaway is that they're really gunning for like the actual muscle car enthusiasts. I don't know how many of them are even considering an EV. I would probably say most aren't, but it does do a convincing job of making it sound like a muscle car.
Where your mufflers are, there's a 45-liter chamber and two driving speakers that are on the outside of it.
But it actually does rumble the seats. And I legitimately forgot. For a second, I was like, oh shit, like I need to be like getting this audio because this is not an engine. This is the special part about it. So I guess that means I'm impressed. I do want to talk about the looks really quick. This does kind of look like someone drew a Challenger from memory, especially from the photos, but in person it's a little bit less awkward than I was originally anticipating. How do I, ooh. Is it power? No. Front, son of a bitch. Trunk. There we go. See? Huge trunk. They got like a lift back, almost like an Audi A5, so I really like that. Cool. It's gonna be starting at about $60,000 for the EV version. They will release internal combustion models that'll be a little bit cheaper, but he said considerably cheaper, no numbers yet, so that's off the record, I guess, but I just said it. I don't know who's gonna be able to afford it, but and I really wanna drive it to see how well they got the fine details, to see if it justifies the price. Another car that I really would love to review is the Chevy Corvette ZR1. Kind of like the one behind me, but hopefully with a little bit more car attached. So this, as you may have heard, over 1,000 horsepower, 5.5 liter V8, twin turbocharged as well, with an 8,000 RPM redline. The rear tires are 345 millimeters, and the spoiler is something that you could eat off of. So all very good things, and something, it also costs $175,000 to start. So probably not coming over to my neck of the woods, but if you guys would like to see it, I will definitely try my best to get a track review of one, or just, I guess, a track drive, because I feel like I really can't properly review this thing because its limits will be up there somewhere. The next car that I'm hoping to review in 2025 is one that is a little bit more attainable, and that is the Nissan Kicks. I have not driven, I don't think, any new Nissan for review, but that is going to change very soon. And this one is not the most exciting car to start with. So we'll walk around front. They completely redid the whole Kicks. And initially this was just a front wheel drive, basically a Kia Soul competitor, but now it is full blown compact or subcompact crossover directed toward the Subaru Crosstrek, Chevrolet Trailblazer, that kind of thing. On the inside, we have some kind of unique textures. This is actually soft touch. It looks like, I mean, it's just fake carbon fiber. I've never seen that done before. But then we got a very derivative design, big display here. But again, for $23,000 starting, I really can't complain much. I have enough space in here. I have a sound system with headphones in the headrests. It doesn't really sound that good, but it's loud. I think this has serious potential. And I can fit behind myself, and there's a decent amount of stuff in the trunk. You know, it's big. This is definitely a pre-production car, or at least I hope it is, because they're probably not shipping it like that. I don't think Nissan's that down bad. We're back to something a little bit more interesting and something more close to home. That is the 2025 Toyota GR Corolla. I'm pretty pumped over driving this one because I'm curious what all they've improved. I've been driving my own for 2 years now, and it's been a source of joy for me and a source of frustration in certain areas. This one is the new Premium Plus, and it does have a nicer interior, so I want to test that out. We also have a larger grille up front, which I think personally the older body looks better, but the inside with this new Premium Plus, this just replaces the Circuit Edition. I kind of find it funny that Toyota was like, hey, we got this limited edition Circuit model, buy it while you can for 2023, and then they're like, whoa, you guys wanted that? Let's make it again for 2024, but definitely not for 2025. I guess I'm excited to see if they, one, improved the clutch a little bit, because they said they retuned the feel. They said they retuned the rear suspension architecture, improved the damping. So this all around has the potential to be a decent amount better. Do I think it's actually going to make a big difference? That's up to, I guess we'll have to decide that soon. A little bit more torque, 295 pound-feet, and an 8-speed automatic transmission option. I think this is really funny because this is like the exact same shifter that you get with like a Corolla LE. And like the same thing with these shifters, or these like paddle shifters here. We could have at least gotten, oh, you got to double click. Hey, so it's kind of, the Acura ADX has metal shifters for a CVT, and for this 8-speed automatic we get, you know, some large plastic ones, but I don't know. Toyota, where are the details? Toyota's also retuned the damping on the GR86. It got a very mild refresh for 2025. They did more with the Corolla. They didn't really need to do anything to this. It was already about the best performance car that you could buy for under, it is the best performance car that you can buy for under 40 grand, in my humble opinion. Don't tell my future Miata that I've said that. While there's no new transmission or styling departure, the suspension tweak, along with retuned steering and throttle control, give me enough of an excuse to make another full review. And if you're looking for more of a lowercase truck, you can get the Maverick. But what I think makes this more enticing is the Lobo package. This is a new trim that you will be able to get. It brings back kind of that 80s, 90s street truck look, lowered suspension, these wheels, and a kind of neat interior. It's going to rock the 2-liter turbocharged engine, which, no complaints there. I'm excited to drive it because I haven't reviewed any Maverick. And they also now have a Tremor edition, which I guess they had this for the previous model year. This was also refreshed. Hopefully they've kind of worked out the initial kinks that you might experience with an all-new product. But they did make one change that I was not too enthusiastic to see, which is on the inside. So on the Lobo, I noticed the climate controls have been replaced with a tow haul dial, which I feel like would make for kind of a funny mistake. And then everything's just baked into the screen now. This is the trend for the industry because it's cheaper to do things this way. But The next car might not get your heart pumping, but it is a very crucial one for the brand, and that is the Subaru Forester Hybrid. This was actually announced at the Chicago Auto Show. That is when the embargo lifted for other big YouTubers out west. And yeah, it's gonna be a hit for them. I know that. I'm not particularly, I guess, yearning to drive the Forester, but it is going to give, I think they said 35 miles to the gallon, 36 miles to the gallon. It's gonna have Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive. They're not going the Mazda route where it just has the Toyota E all-wheel drive. It also has a 2.5 liter boxer that has been detuned, and the total output, I wanna say, is the same as the new Crosstrek hybrid, so 194 horsepower. It'll have better response, a little bit more pep in the mid-range. It is still using a Toyota hybrid setup. Technically, the eCVT exists there, but that only makes the Forester better. It actually just improves the car on its weak points. And to my knowledge, there was no difference in the cargo area or back seat, so this is all very good news. They also announced a Forester Wilderness, which that one, I was pretty much expecting that. 9.3 inches of ground clearance, better tires, more aggressive final drive ratio, more transmission cooling so that you can actually tow a little bit more, I think 3,500 pounds. So all of that is also good, but that's a little less groundbreaking. We do have a few vehicles that are coming out for 2026, but have yet to be announced, like the Outback or the redesigned Toyota RAV4, so hopefully we get more information on those soon. I also wanted to get my hands on the new Passport, but it wasn't at the Chicago Auto Show, despite them saying that it would be. I think that'll be a great option for people who just want a traditional midsize SUV. They're still rocking a naturally aspirated Honda V6, and it's still somewhat closely related to the Pilot, though I do think the two are more distinct this time around. It also still has torque vectoring at the rear, but now the interior has the new Honda design language. However, it does kind of look like a Ford Bronco Sport. People said that about the Toyota Land Cruiser, but I actually agree with them a little bit on this one. It does look pretty Fordy. I also want to talk a little bit about VWs. Of course, I've already reviewed the ID Buzz. If you want to see that video, you can. That was one that I was really excited to drive this year. I also really wanted to drive the GTI and Golf R. Those have yet to be, I've yet to see any of them in person. They weren't at the auto show. If they were there, I could have talked a little about the improved infotainment, though without a manual transmission option, I'm not as personally motivated to drive them as the new GR Corolla or refreshed Civic Si. And here we have what is not a Tacoma. This is a 4Runner. And this is the first time I'm seeing it in person. So far, you know what, I'm pretty impressed. It is definitely a 4Runner, as you can tell by the obligatory, what would you call it, power sliding rear window, and a tailgate that does not want to work. This is the hybrid version, which I drove the new Tacoma and I was pretty impressed by the immediacy of the torque with the hybrid. They really don't want you to touch the fuel tank.
Or put something naughty in there.
I'm pretty excited to drive this one, mainly because it is a lot more expensive than the old one. So I want to see if they can justify that cost. I think that with the new platform, there's a chance that they could. This is, the biggest thing that I think hindered the previous 4Runner was kind of a double-edged sword. It was that V6, and the 4-liter may be very trustworthy, but it lacked low-down torque, and it kind of just felt wheezy a lot of the time. So this new one, 317 pound-feet of torque or whatever from a 2,000 RPM or so, and it can tow 1,000 pounds more. The interior is, honestly, I don't think it's got decent quality, decent materials. This one is the Platinum, so it's probably like the mid $60,000 range. But you can still get a TRD off-road a little, I think, under 50. Previously, that was like a pretty loaded out 4Runner, so it's gonna be a hard sell, but you can get a few more off-road goodies. You can still get a full-time 4-wheel drive system if you want, and hopefully the driving experience was improved too. With the previous generation selling over 100,000 units a year in the US over a decade after its release, there's a lot riding on this one. I'm eagerly awaiting the chance to review it. Something just a little bit more boring would be the new Acura ADX. I think this is in a really competitive space because this is supposed to start out in the mid $30,000 range according to Acura. It is a upscale HRV. 1.5 liter turbocharged engine underneath the hood, so it's not as wheezy as that. I think the front end, I actually like how it looks. I don't mind it. The HRV had a nice-ish interior, but the features were really limited. Here I can get a heated steering wheel. You should be able to get ventilated seats, and more importantly, it's not as drab. Like the HRV is just black, like everywhere. A little bit of orange stitching if you want it, but for the most part, very depressing. This, on the other hand, has blue. And the seats are actually comfortable. You also have metal paddle shifters for your CVT. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm not super excited about this one, but I do think this is an important product to have, and it does seem like a pretty promising one. Next up is the Kia K5, which is slowly rotating behind me. This is a very important budget vehicle, not just because it comes in at an affordable price, but because it also gives you a ton of features. Heated and ventilated front seats. Leatherette, probably not leather, not that kind of price point, as this one fully loaded, every feature possible with the... Sorry, my mic couldn't handle the shocking number of 28 grand for a fully loaded non-turbo model. We also have probably the nicest looking interior that you can find in this class, just below the Mazda 3 in my opinion, but it's more usable. Someone my size, 6'3", can fit behind myself with just a little bit of space to spare. And we still have physical climate controls, little toggles. So simple, very traditional, but still upscale and attainable. I mean, that's most of what I'm looking for in a compact car. So I think I really want to do a what is the best compact video, or just a video where I rank all of the compacts and we go in depth. And I need to drive this one before I make that. 2025 is a huge year for the Nissan Murano as well. Okay, the basic shape of it is pretty generic. The front looks a lot like the Aria. The upscale exterior does blend into the crossover landscape for me. The new VC turbo engine is also down on power compared to the outgoing V6. However, it makes more torque, and it's paired to a 9-speed automatic. It seems that someone at Nissan has ears, and I like the comfortable interior too. For starting at 40 grand, this is great. For 50 grand and it's fully loaded spec, I think it's different enough. It is kind of succumbing to a lot of trends in the form of these dual screens on the same panel and capacitive controls down here, but the controls themselves are molded into wood, which is interesting. We got a 2-spoke steering wheel. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that maybe it beats my expectations that I've had in the past, because really I've just seen Nissan for so long as just a brand that exists because it's cheaper than other brands. So maybe the Murano does more than that. Thank you for joining me on this informal trip to Chicago. We'll get back to the high quality reviews next week, but this was a good time for me to see what was current out there, and it's also a good opportunity for you to tell me what you want me to review the most, whether it's a car featured in this video or if it is something completely different. I am trying to expand my, I guess, review base, trying to expand on the brands that I typically feature in my videos, which is difficult. It involves reaching out to these manufacturers and seeing if they're willing to send me cars. I have 3 new brands on board, Kia, Nissan, and VW, so hopefully they don't mind me talking about common issues and reliability and whatnot. I'm not gonna stop doing that. So yeah, it's an exciting time because I feel like I'm starting to gain a little bit more leverage in being able to reach out to brands, but I still don't have enough leverage to where I'm not left on red quite a bit. So we're gonna keep trying. Thanks for watching. And thank you to my channel members for helping me improve my content over the years. And also, please let me know if you enjoy this more vloggy style of content. I'll catch you in the next one.